Welcome to our series on how public sector agencies are accelerating innovation with data and analytics. I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group, and here to share some insights on that today is Nick Lucius, Chief Data Officer for the City of Chicago. Nick, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Wyatt. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, Nick, let's start by asking, talk about a recent initiative where migrating and analyzing data in the cloud, or what is often described as data-led migration, how has that helped generate new insights and innovations in serving the city of Chicago's constituents?
Yeah, definitely. I think a great example is our experience with COVID data. Public health and epidemiological data, that's an area where they've traditionally worked with spreadsheets and local databases and weren't really in the cloud. And when we had to deal with a global pandemic and how we were preparing for it locally, really overnight, we made a migration into the cloud in order to better manage our data on pandemic response. And so that's everything from data that was coming from hospitals on how many hospital beds were available, ICU beds, ventilators, and everything from emergency room reports of COVID-like symptoms to the test results that are coming from labs and clinical providers all over the city. These are lots of different streams of data coming from lots of different places that are all connecting up at the city of Chicago to analyze and understand the experience of the pandemic locally. And that data is all being centralized in cloud-based technology so that it's easily shareable and usable. And with that, we break all that data down by race, age, gender, and location and other demographics to be able to look at the pandemic response from an equity lens, which with COVID is so vital because, as we know, it's a disease that affects people in different ways based on those factors. And in order to properly serve our residents and respond with the services that they need, we've got to look and break our data down by all those factors. And having it in the cloud and being able to analyze it there has allowed us to do that a lot faster and easier than we used to be able to do in the past.
Well, how has the ability to migrate and analyze data in the cloud helped improve decision-making internally at your organization and those you serve?
Yeah, and I think that's really what it all leads to is that once you migrate your data and centralize it and start to work with it in one place, like the cloud, you're starting to make decisions off of it and make those decisions faster and get to better outcomes. I think the COVID example provides a lot of that because pulling all the data related to the pandemic in one place gives us the ability to make decisions on who to reach out to and what to do. But I've got another example for this too. At the city of Chicago, when it comes to equity, one of the things that we've taken a look at is our employee workforce. And we've taken all the data on our employees that we collect and put it into a cloud-based solution and actually made that data all publicly available so that residents and the world can look real time and see what is the racial, demographic, gender, and age makeup of the city's workforce, and how does that compare to the population as a whole, and how is the city doing when it comes to equity? And the kinds of decisions that leads to are that every year when we make budgeting decisions as a city, that data is looked at by our local aldermen, our local community groups, to be able to see how different departments are hiring and to make actual decisions with budgets and with hiring practices in order to continue to move the needle on equity. And so, there's an example where we're actually making everyday decisions with data in the cloud, that are so important in our communities.
Well, how did working with a leading cloud provider and the community of cloud partners speed up the time to value in improving constituent services?
Yeah, this is an important one too. I mean, time to value is again really what I think getting data in the cloud and getting into one place to analyze it is all about. Is doing things faster and getting to where you need to get faster. And I think you can do that in the cloud because of the simplicity of the access and the technical overhead is kind of all done once, and then you make it easier for everyday people to get that data. And where I think we see value as a municipality is in getting information about how government works to people more quickly. And I'll give an example of that, and that's our violence reduction dashboard. And what we've done as a city is taken all the data that we collect related to crimes that happen and to the victims who are involved with violent crimes, and put that all in one place in a cloud-based product, and again, made it publicly available so that residents and community groups who work on violence reduction can get real-time vital information on the experience of violence in the city at the level of census tract, race, age, and gender. The time to value consideration here is that this is information that you used to have to make FOIA requests, which are Freedom of Information Act requests, in order to get, and it would take time. And taking away the request and receive timeline on this and just making it always publicly available and always updating in real time, we put this data in our community partners' hands so that they can go and do violence mitigation and go and do their job and focus on what they do rather than focus on having to make requests and wait for information to show up.
And then lastly, Nick, how have efforts in migrating and analyzing data in the cloud changed your organization's overall cloud strategy or priorities?
This question kind of brings us to where we are today. And I think a lot of organizations are facing the same thing. Once you put your data into a cloud, into a centralized place where it's easier to get access and you can open up a lot of the kinds of examples I've brought up so far, you end up creating a lot of demand. With great examples like that, people who work in government and outside start to say, can we do this more? Can we get more examples like this? Can we get more data detethered from databases and into a place where we can start analyzing it and make more things happen in progress in communities? And what that then creates is a need for stronger data governance practices and stronger access and security practices, because all of a sudden we've got a lot of requests for data, and we need to put together really foundational platforms of how do we handle those requests, and how do we handle making sure that we're doing things securely. A lot of ethical and data privacy questions always come up when there's requests for data. It's hard work in order to do this right and to make sure that things are done the right way. And for an organization like us with 30,000 plus employees and more than $10 billion a year in expenses, this is a huge need and a huge change. And we're working really hard on setting up our foundational data governance and privacy practices to be able to handle that increased demand that I think we're going to continue to see.
Well, Nick, Lucius, thank you so much for joining us and sharing some of your insights on how data-led migrations to the cloud are really helping the city of Chicago and its constituents.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Wyatt. Appreciate it.